June 12th, 2003, 7 p.m. Dear Journal, or maybe I should say Dear Margot. Camp season is officially underway, and I for one could not be happier for the time with my bestie. Even if she is forcing me to make initiation crafts for the newbies against my will. JK! Anyway, I have a very important proclamation for tonight's entry. I am preemptively declaring this the summer of love. I'm talking Jack and Rose level stuff, except where she makes room for him on the door at the end of the movie. Or Romeo and Juliet, but where they run away together instead of dying because of poor communication skills. You know, fairy tale shit. And Margot, I know you're not totally sold on this whole concept yet, but when you meet your soulmate, everything will click. I promise. With a capital P.
This is The Crime at Camp Ashwood. Episode 2, The Icing. So, I finally opened the journal that Sadie and I shared, where I found a random receipt for Novelty Invisible ink along with hundreds of entries written by our teenage minds. I've been trying to do a thorough read-through for a week now. But every time I start, something weird catches me and I stop. Weirder still is that what's often been stopping me is reading my own entries. A lot of them are bullshit. I don't want to paint myself as a liar, generally speaking, but I guess I'm learning that memory and the way we perform it for other people is a tricky thing. When I read these entries, I catch all kinds of little things that I either embellished or underplayed. Like going to second base with a boy in the Ashwood Lake house when it was barely even first, because I knew Sadie would be more impressed. Or saying that things at my school back home were okay when really the girls in my class were tormenting me about my braces on the daily, because I didn't want Sadie to worry about me. I'm realizing that this journal had an audience. Of one. And I dressed my words up for her, like frosting on a cake. It makes me wonder what Sadie might have been embellishing or underplaying for me, too. So I'm trying to start with the facts as I know them, and the memories that are etched into my mind, the ones I'm absolutely certain of, like the day after Sadie went missing. Did they see anything?
I don't know.
Oh, did they look by her parents' house or Paul's? She could have easily paddled there from here.
I don't know.
Well, doesn't it seem like everyone's just kind of waiting around with no actual purpose?
I do not know.
Well, look at that guy over there. He's just staring at the water like it's a magic eye puzzle. What the hell do they think they're going to find in there?
Margot! Stop spinning.
I guess you can manage to be so calm because you're not her best friend.
God forbid you let me forget I'm second place on the friendship pyramid in the midst of this missing person case. Anyway, the reason I'm trying to stay calm is that I've been listening to the cops. They all say she must be hiding somewhere. Mrs. Mackenzie told them Sadie had gotten that first warning when she snuck out earlier this summer and was told she'd get kicked out of camp for good if it happened again.
What? Sadie didn't mention that.
I guess she omitted that part. They think she must have snuck out again, stayed too late, and now she's somewhere avoiding the consequences. They're just doing their due diligence in the water. She'll probably be back by dinner.
Do you believe that?
I don't know. Who is that?
Oh, shit. It's JJ and freaking Paul.
Not exactly aiding the search with that little testosterone off.
I'm sure JJ's just trying to get Paul to tell us where Sadie is, because we all know that he knows. Probably trying to save his own ass as usual. Jerk.
I mean, he's been here all morning searching with everyone else, so...
I'm going over there for backup. I was only moderately adept at interacting with men back in my camp days. Sadie was the clear expert in that arena. But I knew enough to know when one was lying to me. And that morning, when I ran across the lakeshore to Paul and JJ, they both lied about where they'd been the night before. I was sure of it, but not confident enough to say so at 16. And I figure finding out what exactly they were hiding is a good first step for my own investigation now. As I've been piecing together my memories of the timeline and matching them with Sadie's journal entries on the ramshackle corkboard in my office, What's coming back to me is what made this whole so-called investigation so frustrating to begin with. How does a beautiful, popular, blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl, someone who Nancy Grace would have undoubtedly salivated over the disappearance of had she been on the air back in 2003, disappear with no answers? In what world does that happen? In the world where the most obvious suspect is the local sheriff's son. Paul Westerly wasn't just Paul in Asheville. He was the kid who played Tonka trucks with the whole department on the floor of his daddy's office on Take Your Kid to Work days. When Sadie first went missing, there were whispers about his possible involvement. Of course. Everyone always suspects the boyfriend. And with good reason, if you ask me. The cops did their due diligence, interviewing everyone. Paul, JJ, Veronica, me, the counselors at both camps, Mr. and Mrs. Cameron. Hell, even the Mackenzies, who owned Ashwood and Rockland, got spoken with. It looked thorough. And at first, they really did believe she'd just run off in the night. I think a lot of us went along with that because we wanted to believe it too. Sometimes I wonder if things might have been different had everyone taken it all more seriously and looked deeper into that water sooner. We say she died the night of the dance, but no one really has any idea of the actual date and time. What we do know is that 3 weeks after that night, a local fisherman found a hand washed ashore that matched Sadie's DNA. And any hope we'd had was lost. When the case turned from a rescue to a recovery, the investigation changed too. The second time I was brought in for questioning, Sheriff Westerly wasn't asking me if I had any suspicions of foul play. I've seen enough documentaries to know the kind of questions people ask when they're looking for a murderer. Instead, they asked me if I thought Sadie was depressed, if there was any reason she'd want to hurt herself. They told me they had reason to believe she did. And that was the story they sold. With beautiful teenager hiding a deep depression headlines and a citywide mental health awareness campaign. About half the locals bought it, but absolutely no one who really loved her did. Sadie was possibly the least depressed person in the world. And that summer was the happiest I'd ever seen her. Even when she was getting in trouble, she was having fun.
When Misty Willis was elected head cheerleader at Asheville Preparatory School, the vote hadn't even been close. She could do a full aerial while everyone else on the team was still working on basic cartwheels. And as head cheerleader, she was practically obligated to date
The football captain!
precisely Ron Kentwood, QB1 himself. Every single time he scored a touchdown, Ron would run right over to Misty and kiss her on the cheek. It seemed like the perfect love story. Sweet and chaste. Until... late one spring night, they say something snapped in Ron. The way the girls who lived on the campus at the time tell it, you could hear the scream all the way from the dining hall to the last cabin in the row. A high-pitched soprano. Misty could have been an opera singer had she lived past that chilly night. Some even swear they felt the walls around them shake when it happened. But an earthquake in North Carolina? Unlikely. And even less likely that Ron, who'd always been such a nice guy, had taken Misty's life. And then, moments later, of his own free will. It wasn't believable, which is why the rumors started. Something supernatural had to have been afoot.
Okay, this is legitimately creepy.
That's what Midnight Mystery Hour is all about. But if it's too much for
No,
you...
don't stop. This is awesome.
You good, Margot?
Ugh, Margot, please.
Margot!
Okay, yes, go on.
Who knows? With the games of telephone teenagers play, what really happened that night? But something about the way Misty had always been a little larger than life made people keep coming back to the story. Plus, there were the incidents.
The incidents?
It could have been the old pipes on campus, but that same high-pitched scream was said to have been heard on many a night, even years later, by people who had never heard of Misty at all. And whenever that scream was heard, something strange always happen if you believe in ghosts. You might even call them sightings.
No, keep going.
To be continued on another night, because I have to make sure you all get at least 6 hours of sleep.
Ugh.
Chop chop, lights out.
You can't leave us hanging like that.
Patience is a virtue. Good night.
Honestly, I'm tired. That was intense. Sadie, don't you have an early archery class tomorrow?
Yeah, I guess June's story freaked me out a little too. I feel like I need a walk to clear my head.
You need a walk. Alone. In the middle of the night to be less scared by a ghost story?
Maybe.
Bullshit.
Hey!
Nope, I second that. Bullshit for sure. You're meeting Paul, huh?
What?
Oh, Margot, be cool. We're just gonna do a little skinny dipping. It's a Rockland tradition, and it's Paul's last year as a camper. I told him I would.
You're going to get in trouble.
I won't. The boys do it every year, and everyone over there knows it, including the counselors. They let them think they're sneaking out because it's more fun that way, but the whole thing is practically camp sanctioned.
I've never heard of any girls doing it.
Well, I guess I'm the first to be invited.
I'm officially jealous. Go have fun. We'll cover for you. Right, Margot?
Yeah, have fun. Just don't get in trouble, okay?
Scout's honor. Hey, I'll make you an ice cream sundae pancake sack special at the dining hall for breakfast. Then we've got initiation tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, I can't wait.
Me either. See you in the morning, ladies.
Do you think we'll ever get invited to cool shit like that?
Do you really want to be invited to take your clothes off and get into a freezing cold lake at night with a bunch of acne-faced boys?
More than anything, honestly. Yes. You okay, Margot?
Yeah, it just feels different this year.
We're growing up. Can't stay little girls forever, you know?
I know that.
It was always going to happen. And hey, I'm probably going to be stuck here single all summer. So you've got me. Always.
Thanks. You've got me too. Always. Always is a nonsensical word. I've learned the hard way that it's impossible to always do or be anything. As much as we had tried to keep the unanswered questions about the case at the forefront of people's minds, this wasn't the true crime-obsessed world we live in today. In 2003, people wanted to believe the story that made them sleep the best at night, the one with no murderer and a simple explanation, the one that seemed like it couldn't happen to their kids. The cops knew that, and it worked. Sadie's parents had pushed the detectives for answers, though probably not as much as I thought they should have. After the first couple of years of putting the pressure on, they told us that obsessing over this wasn't allowing them any space to start healing, and it wasn't like finding out what really happened would bring Sadie back. I didn't agree with this, but I tried to understand that maybe seeking justice wasn't their job. They were the true center of this little circle of grief. They should have been able to move forward in whatever way allowed them to survive losing their only child. It's on the next ring out, her friends, to get real answers. And it shouldn't have taken me 20 years. But better late than never. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Crime at Camp Ashwood. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. If you'd like to support this podcast so we can keep making more episodes, click the support link in the show notes. To learn more about this and all our projects, visit our production company websites, dragonhunterproductions.com and newgirlpictures.com. Thank you for listening.